Hello, welcome to the channel. I am Say Hi Paul, and this is Warhammer 40,000 9th edition. We are playing a combat patrol mission, Outriders. We are returning to the planet of Archimedes IX, where the Nightlords and the Fulminators chapter of Primaris Marines are in a protracted engagement. So this mission is part 2 of 3. For those of you who haven't seen part 1, I'd feel free to go and check it out. It's got a little bit more background on what we're actually doing and why we're doing it. But the short version is, following the first battle on Archimedes IX, the Nightlords have scattered into the surrounding terrain in order to try and draw the Fulminators into their trap. And what we are doing is we are playing 3 combat patrols that happen simultaneously from a story perspective, and the results of those combat patrols will help inform on what happens next. For those of you who watch my hobby vlog, you'll know that the 3 lists were all written up, and then the Fulminators lists, the Nightlords lists, and the scenarios were all randomly selected. Some combinations will obviously favour the Fulminators, and some conversely the Nightlords. So before we get into the detail a bit too much, a little bit of housekeeping. So my battle reports have a particular style and theme to them. They're a little bit rough and ready, and they mostly involve me talking and meandering and whittering, as you are probably already getting the impression of. If you want to understand why I do what I do the way I do, there is a video on the channel called Welcome. I talk about it in there for about 10 or 15 minutes. Check that one out. The other thing to mention before you get too into it is on the channel I always use a specific set of house rules for Warhammer 40,000 9th edition. And these are they. There is also... excuse me, just whacked myself on the corner of the thing there, that hurt. There is a video on these which details why it's called House Rules and Thoughts on 9th Edition. I play them because I find they give a more narrative feel to the games, this channel being all about narrative. If that's not your cup of tea, thank you very much for getting this far. This probably won't be for you. But if you're still here with us, many of these rules probably won't have an effect in this game, but I will run through them briefly. The psychic ones are not going to have any effect. I don't apply the +1/-1 limit on hit and wound roll modifiers. I ignore the coherency check in the morale phase, but that's because I remove models in coherency anyway, so I only ignore it out of principle. We don't do command rerolls. We don't limit the number of stratagems that can be used in a phase. And the biggest one is that characters can charge with units. Like I said, more detail on those on that other video, and we'll talk through those as and when they occur. So, back to the table. Zoom out. So this is Archimedes IX is an important industrial planet that's on the edge of... I forgot this last time. It's on the edge of Ultramar and the Eastern Fringes. It's where they meet, and which is also on the outskirts of the Citrix Maledictum as well. That's sort of on the edge, on the tip, if you like. So it is an important industrial planet that supplies material to Imperial worlds. But because it's quite a way out on the limb, the Nightlords have chosen it as their target. And this particular battlefield is a more industrial element of that planet. In part 1, the Nightlords laid their trap in a burnt-out residential area. No spoilers if you want to know how that went on. Go check it out. And And this, as you could probably tell, is an industrialised area. It has seen some fighting, with some buildings have been destroyed, but are being dutifully rebuilt by servitors of the Mechanicum. So a couple of bits about terrain, and then a couple of shout-outs. I'm still not remembering all of the exact correct terms for it, but I'll look things up as we go along. These two buildings here are ruins. They're not more than 5 inches in height, so they'll give the light cover trait. So +1 armor save. They've got all the breachable, all those sorts of things. These ones are all obstacles, which makes them defensible as well as light cover. And if you're within 3 inches of them, you get the benefit of the cover. We're saying you can't go on these reactors, far too dangerous, or these pipes, far too unstable, but you can go on these crates. However, there is no benefit of cover for lying on them. Although, I have got some scouts with sniper rifles and cloaks, so I'm in two minds as to whether to say that they should be able to claim cover because they'd be lying down on it rather than being a Space Marine, standing up in front of it. But no, I don't think we're going to do that. That was a thought that crossed my mind though. But anyway, so a couple of shout-outs before I talk in a bit more detail about the mission. So, Matt. This mat is a Micro Art Studio mat, which is designed for Infinity the game, which is a small-scale skirmish game, sci-fi skirmish game, dozen models or so. If that's the kind of thing that interests you, I suggest checking out Fast Panda Gaming on YouTube, who are a couple of great guys who do videos on Infinity. That is well worth checking out. The rest of the terrain, these bits here, these generators and these large crates, they are GameMat.eu. The objective counters are Cromlech.eu, and everything else is GW terrain. These what are they called? Thermic conduit pipes and reactors and stuff. And that's aquarium gravel and slate from B&Q. So, the scenario. So, what is happening is the Marines, the Fulminators, are tentatively reaching out. They know that the Nightlords are drawing them in and lying in wait. So, there are a number of different strategies they're taking to this. And the one that's going to come into play here is they have Astartes scouts scouting ahead. And when they when they have contact with the enemy, they will call in reinforcements, and the attack ships will drop Phobos Marines and other members of the Vanguard into the area to purge the heretics. So this is a 10th Company Fulminators thing. Yeah, deployment. Yeah, that's the word. Fully professional here. Equally, the Nightlords, most of these units weren't heavily mauled in the previous engagements and are lying in wait. They are led by a Psyker who has sensed their presence, and they are ready to pounce as soon as the Imperial dogs, the slaves to the Carrion Throne, as soon as they show their ugly faces. So I will talk about the armies in just a moment. In terms of the scenario, it's the Outriders mission in the book. It's a combat patrol, so playing on a 4x4 board. The mission has 4 objectives, which, looking at them, I expected, from the picture in the book, I expected those to feel closer together. I expected it to be a sort of square, but it's not. It's really quite an oblong. So I wonder if during the game, if actually the deployments here in this corner and in that corner, the deployment zones, I wonder if they might actually swivel, because it's easy to go from one zone to another one. I digress. Do that a lot. What next? Yes, point scoring. There is 5 points a turn for holding 1 objective, 10 points for holding 2, and 15 points for holding more that Now, let me get that right. 5 points for 1, 10 points for 2, and an additional 5 points if you hold more than your opponent. I think that's right. Let me read it. Yep, that's basically it. Okay, so what next? I think next is go and look at the armies. So I'll tell you about the armies and the secondary objectives which are in play. I will go through those with the armies at the same time. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but never mind, I'll probably get to it in a minute. So this is the Fulminators force. First thing to mention, you'll notice these command point tokens. 3 command points for a patrol, 500 points, which is exactly right. I have real trouble keeping track of whether I've added the extra command point each turn or not. So I've already laid them out, so I just have to slide it along, and then I'll have a discard pile somewhere else. Bit of housekeeping. So, I mentioned earlier the gist of what's going on here. The scouts are moving ahead, and then Brother Lieutenant Kalmar and 10 Vanguard Marines are in a dropship waiting to deploy as soon as the scouts send them the signal. So that squad of 10 Vanguard Marines are split into 7 Reavers and 3 Suppressors. You'll notice my Suppressors look a little bit different. They get to move 10, 12 inches, and yeah, they need a jump pack to be able to do that. So that's why they have a jump pack, because, you know, that's the only thing that actually makes sense to me. So we have 10 scouts with sniper rifles. What I've read everything I could find, and there's probably other stuff out there that I couldn't find, about are Primaris scouts any different to regular scouts? And I can't find anything that says they're different. So until I see something otherwise, I thought, right, it must just be that the Primaris organs don't mature till later on, and they basically have a growth spurt, because they do look tiny stood next to the other guys. So we have a unit of 10 scouts in with camo cloaks and sniper rifles, so they're getting +2 cover save where they are in cover. Cover is pretty sparse on this board. The dice have not been kind to these scouts. The suppressors have their accelerator autocannons that do multiple damage. They also prevent, if you've taken a casualty from one of these, they prevent you from firing on Overwatch, which might be quite important. The Reavers are a fairly standard pistol and stabby stick affair. They've got grav shoots and will drop in from above. They have an ability. I don't think it's actually called Terror Tactics, because that's, you know, exactly the same as what the Nightlords have, but they lower the leadership. They're apparently really scary. It's something to do with a face mask. Maybe it's Halloween. I don't know. So, Brother Lieutenant... what did I say his name was? Brother Lieutenant Kalmar. Professional. He is a Vanguard Lieutenant. He is the Warlord, and he has the Warlord trait Master of the Vanguard, which means that any Phobos units within 6 inches of him, which also includes himself, gain +1 to move, advance, or charge, which is pretty handy. He also has a relic called the Vox Spiritanum, the Vox Spiritanum, the Spirit something. I can't read my own writing. What it does is it gives him 3 inches extra range to his auras, so it'll increase the range of his Master of the Vanguard, and also his being a lieutenant, you get to reroll 1s, because I can tell you what bits to shoot thing. But if you read the description of the Vox Spiritum, I think that's how you say it, Spiritum, it's some kind of crazy warp psychic headset that echoes your mind through the warp to make people hear you from further away. It's one of Belisarius' inventions. That is some heretical stuff right there. I reckon the boys and girls of the Inquisition should have serious words with that guy. So, what else to tell you about the Fulminators? Okay, so the Fulminators' secondary objectives. They have Survey, which is the secondary objective specific to this mission, which is if they control the two objectives that are in no one's deployment zone, they get extra points. They've also chosen to take Engage on all fronts, which is that you get points if you have units in 3 of the table quarters, and even more if you've got units in 4 of the table quarters, as long as they're not within so far of the centre of the table. These guys are pretty much going to spread out. I mean, the scouts, the intention at the moment, and I think it's going to be interesting given how the table looks. I think the intention is for the scouts to combat squad and sit on the 2 objectives in no man's land. It all depends who deploys what first, I guess. And then these boys will drop in to back them up. Some of those objectives are fairly in the open, so I don't know how well this is going to work out for the Fulminators, but that's probably what they're going to do. So that Survey and Engage on all fronts, they are looking for these heretics, and when they find them, they want to push them back and push them back. And in the vein of pushing back and decapitating the snake, they have also taken Slay the Warlord. So extra points for killing the enemy warlord. Other thing to mention, whilst the Fulminators are an Ultramarines successor chapter, they're taken from the Terran Guard during the Scouring, so in M32, when pretty much all of life was just hunting down the traitors from the heresy and doing them in. Were also woken up in the Indomitus Crusade and have spent pretty much the entire time since chasing down heretics and doing them in. So they also have Preferred Enemy Heretic, if I remember it this time, which I seem to keep forgetting. Preferred Enemy Heretic. They also have Bolter Fusillade, which is reroll 1 for bolt weapons. I'm not sure which bolt weapons it applies to. It might just be his gun. I'm going to need to check that. I know it's bolt guns. I've just been looking through the stratagems to see what I can use to familiarise myself with them before the game. Oh yeah, that's, I said before, I forgot to mention something. I'm playing this game against myself. That is something I should have, mentioned. I take each turn as it comes, and I don't think too far ahead. I just play the turn in front of me, and if I think there are any decisions to be made where my knowledge of both sides is having an effect, I will roll a dice to decide. It's a quarantine restriction thing, but I am actually pretty much getting into it. I'm really enjoying it, so who knows if I carry it on afterwards or not. I digress. I also don't know what I was saying. Oh yes, I was saying that, so I've had a look through all the stratagems, and I seem to have contrived to pick the only units in the book that cannot use the majority of stratagems. So I think I've only got sort of Death to the Traitors and Fight a Second Time in Combat. There's very, very few I can actually use. So if I get close enough with Le Reavers to the heretics, I will be throwing these command points up the wall on giving them a very close haircut. Okay, and I think that is everything to tell you about the Fulminators. I'm sure anything I've forgotten will come up as we go through. Now let's go and have a look at the Nightlords. Okay, so here we have 500 points of Nightlords. Same deal with the command points. These are just here for me to move over so I don't forget them during the game. Right, what are we looking at? Fundamentally, this is 2 units of Space Marines, a Sorcerer, and a unit of Havocs. But obviously, it's so much more than that. So these guys here, these are the remnants of 10th Claw. They were pretty badly mauled in the first engagement against the Fulminators, and these are the ones who've been able to scavenge armour parts to replace breaks, and whose physiology have accelerated quickly enough in order to make them battle ready again after such a recent defeat. So they're a unit of Chaos Space Marines. There's a Plasma Pistol and a Power Maul on the champion, and a Flamer with a mix of bolters and chainswords. So that's 10th Claw. Now, back here, we have Second Claw. They weren't involved in the initial in that initial battle, so the entire claw is here. You will notice there are only 5 of them. That's because the claw has been depleted over time, and they are dangerously close to being under strength. Again, it's a mix of bolters and close combat weapons. One of them has a missile launcher, and the sergeant has a what's the word? It's an axe. It's a power axe. Has got a power axe. Then here we have Fourth Claw, Havocs. Now these ones are often led astray by the sorcerer. So maybe I should go to the sorcerer first. Hello. So this is Keth. He's very rarely given any honorifics. He is universally despised by everyone in the 53rd Talon Nightlords. The only reason he hasn't been taken out and brutally done away with is because the Talon Master Narivok Magaris forbids it, because he has the power of the sight. He is cursed by visions in a similar way to the Night Haunter. He is also the only person who can jump the strike cruiser into the warp should their navigator be killed. So he's pretty keen on keeping him around. But he's the only active Chaos worshipper in the entire Talon, the entire warband. And he makes no bones about it. But, everyone else despises him for it, because worship of chaos, psychic powers, mutations, it is all manifest corruption that they fight against, which has made modelling for a lot of these things really difficult. I've been able to saw chaos symbols off everywhere, left, right and centre. Some of them you can't even get at. And it's almost like GW don't want to distinguish between the traitors who serve chaos and the ones who don't, and the ones who might a little bit but not very much. And, moving on. So, Keth is the warlord. He is a sorcerer. He has prescience. He will always have prescience, because that is prescience, seeing the future, which is a key part of the Night Haunter's curse. As his warlord trait, he also has the Night Haunter's curse, which grants him basically a reroll per battle round. There's a restricted list, it's either a hit roll, a wound roll, a save. It's that standard restricted list. But once per battle round, he gets a reroll because he can see into the future, which is the other reason why he always takes prescience. Today, because movement is so important, the other spell he has bargained for with the powers of the warp is warp time. I don't often take warp time because it gets used quite a lot. It's a sort of go-to in a competitive environment, from what I gather. But I think the fast-moving, they are in an environment where they're behind enemy lines, and speed is important, and they have lost all their transports. So he is speeding up time to help them move about the place. So he has warp time. He also carries a relic, the Misery of the Meek, which is basically a jar of the distilled essence of people he's tortured. And when he drinks it gives him a bunch of wounds back and a bunch of attacks that round. He gets D6 wounds and then D3 attacks that round. So that's a once per game thing, which actually is kind of handy with the Fulminators having subsequently decided to take Assassinate, because they don't know he's got that, so it seems appropriate for them, so why not? Yes, okay, so, because he casts Prescient a lot, these Havocs, tend to be a little bit, Fourth Claw, they tend to be a little bit more flexible with their righteous indignation and their rejection of him. They're sort of like, yeah, but it does make it really easy to shoot things. And like, yeah, but, he's corrupt. Oh, so conflicted. There will be little pockets of any... you get a range with Nightlords. Some of them embrace chaos altogether, because that is what the Night Haunter told them to do. He said, I have refused this, but you must embrace it, shortly before he got himself offed by that assassin. And some of them went, all right. And some of them went, hell no. It's corruption. And this warband, the 53rd Talon, are one of the ones who said hell no. But there are always going to be a couple who wonder. The Raptor cult associated with the Talon, they are much closer to Chaos worship. They don't worship Chaos, but they're much closer to it than the regular Marines. Anyway, so, Havocs. We've got 2 of the magic chain cannons, which are basically 3 heavy bolters on a stick. We have a heavy bolter. The guy feels mightily peeved that he's only got a heavy bolter, not a chain cannon, and an autocannon. The champion also has a plasma gun. These are, relatively speaking, get up close and shoot, because the chain cannons, they're 8 shot, strength 5, AP -1. Havocs, they're toughness 5, and they can move and fire without penalty, which is kind of nice, but I still wish I could actually take a proper sized unit of just Marines, some of which have big guns. So, yeah, I choose to believe that the other 5 members of the unit are dead, and there's only these 5 left. Flange. The Nightlords' secondary objectives. First strike. We know there are Imperial scouts in the area. They must die. So kill a unit in the first turn of the game. Mental interrogation looked kind of interesting. So he has to. The way you can do that is if he is within 18 inches of an enemy character, he can basically forego casting psychic powers to cast the mental interrogation power, and if it's successful, you get points. And the other is Attrition. We're here on this world not only to resupply, but also to bleed the Imperium. So if we kill more Imperial units in a given turn than they kill of ours, we get points. Now, I know in a small game with a small number of units, it's not really going to come up that much, but it's fitting. And also, if we can get a good early turn punch and wipe out some of those scouts before the reinforcements end up on the board, it's some good points. So this is an interesting matchup. I'm not quite sure which way this is going to go. And I also think the terrain is going to make it interesting because it's quite an open board. So without further ado, I'm going to work out who gets which zone and start deploying. Okay, so I haven't rolled the dice yet. I've got them here ready. I've just been working out, before I rolled them, which zone, which army would want, so I know for when I roll the dice, if that makes sense. So I've just been looking at it. And this one here has fairly restricted lines of fire if you're on that objective. There's an awful lot of stuff in the way. Now I know, well, the Fulminators know that they're going to drop onto their home objective with the suppressors. That is their plan. And this also has rubbish lines of fire to cover that objective as well. It's got fairly good ones to that, but that is not a good place to be if you want to sit and have supporting lines of fire. Whereas this objective is a brilliant place to be. You can shoot at people on that objective, whoever they are. They have to be tucked around the corner to... Oh, maybe that actually is a thing. You could just about... If the unit was tucked around that corner, they could maybe still be holding that objective. So actually, maybe that's not as that bad. Not as bad as all that. But this has got much better lines of fire. So both both armies want this quarter. So we shall see who wins the roll. Blue for Fulminators, black for Nightlords. That doesn't help. 2-2. Let's try that again. Fulminators. Okay. So it begins. So the Fulminators are playing the defenders. They are picking this table edge and have to drop a unit first. Okay, so this is what it looks like after deployment. So the scouts have combat squadded. Half of them have come into this on this objective, and the other half on the other one. And it's very possible that mistakes have been made. Yep, mistakes definitely been made. I did. So the Space Marines deployed first. I checked the rules, and you treat them as, when you're combat squadding, you treat them as 2 separate units during deployment. So boom, these guys went down first. Magic. I thought, brilliant. They're away from that objective. Fine. Then I came over here and go, right, well, these ones are up for a rumble. They're going to want to charge straight over to this objective. Yes, that's very true. Okay, so these scouts have quite prudently seen what's coming on the Auspex. They haven't got a Sarge with them. The Sarge is in the other half of the unit over there. So over the Vox, they've been told to hunker down and wait for the incoming support. So that's what they're doing. They are holding that objective. So they are probably safe there for a turn, which is probably good news for them. Because then I measured this deployment zone. And of course, there isn't going to be a 2-foot gap because this isn't his deployment zone. There'd be a big gap because you can't go within 9 inches of the centre. So there's a big gap that way. And there'd be a big gap that way. But actually with them having gone in there and they're halfway up the board and yeah, it's very close. So the Nightlords have got the unit of Marines, the second claw. Wasn't checking. It was just a bit of dust. Second claw are sat on this objective with fourth claw and Keth ready to move up and annihilate those scouts. They can only hope for a first turn, to have first turn and to maybe back off. That's probably what they will have to do, or they will be exterminated. Because it's a big part of the Nightlords' plan, because they want to hit the Fulminators hard at the start of the game, because they've got first strike for 5 points. They've got, I think there's extra points in first strike if you kill more than your opponent does. And in first turn, they've only got these 2 units. There's also attrition. If they kill a unit in first turn, the Fulminators will not kill one in return. They are very much waiting for their reinforcements. Now, if this was a different table, they might be in sniper nests, tucked up in cover, able to take some pot shots. But they have elected to try and spread out. They are obviously in Vox contact with the Lieutenant, but his wisdom obviously not shining through. They have triggered a trap. So now let's find some dice. Ooh, some dice. Let's find some dice. I'll see who goes first. Same colours as before. Is it going to be for the Emperor, or is it going to be death to the false Emperor? It's not looking good to be a throne botherer. So, Nightlords turn 1, end of movement phase. The 10th Claw, wasn't checking, speck of dust. 10th Claw have advanced out of this building, rolled a 4, slowed down by the terrain, move of 8. They're not... Can you charge a unit you can't see? They advanced, of course, they advanced. Yeah. So that's happening over here. Over here, it doesn't look good to be these scouts. There's a bit of a... Oh, he's not pointing the right way. There's a bit of an execution squad lining up. These guys have stayed still. They can put fire into them if they don't manage to get wiped out by everything that is about to hit them. Speaking of which, Psychic Phase. Only doing one thing, and that one thing is a smite. He is going... At least face them. He's going to fire searing bolts of warp energy at them to flay their skin off. Casting on a 5. That is not a 5. Ooh. Is he allowed to reroll psychic tests with his warlord trait? 1 minute. He is not. So, having just seen his power fade, he's not taking any chances. He is going to cast Prescience on 4th Claw. On a something. Possibly that. Okay, so that roll was a 7, and the casting cost of that spell, Psychic Power, is a 7. So the Havocs are indeed prescienced. So, we've got straight into the shooting phase, and the Havocs have opened up on the Scouts. Now, these Scouts are well hidden. They have got superb camo cloaks. They're nailed, they're hunkered down in the terrain. They have been well trained. And they need to be. So, these are the saves they have to take. Ooh, wide view. I keep messing about. Okay, these are a 2 plasma gun hits, so they're at -3. Their armour is 4 up. +1 because the terrain is to 3s, and +1 for the camo cloaks is 2s. -3 saves on 5s. 1 save, 1 dead. Okay. Heavy bolter, -1. Save on a 3. Another 1 dies. Autocannon, -1s. Save on 3s. Oh dear, they're not as well hidden as they thought. And these are from the Reaper chain cannon. From the Reaper chain cannon. Yes, and they're -1, so these will wound on 3s. Save on 3s also. And 1, 2, 3 is 6 dead scouts. That's the unit. So that is the end of Fulminators turn 1. They have secured first blood, which is 5 points. It may be more if they kill more units than their opponent. The Marines need to kill a unit in turn 1. And with 5 sniper rifles, I don't know how they're going to do that. The best they could possibly hope for is to move all those Marines, all the scouts, into that gap and get 5 kills on this unit. It's not going to happen, is it? So, Fulminators turn 1. Reinforcements can't arrive. The lieutenant's seen what's happening over the Vox. He's seen the runes of the other scouts wink out. He's saying, you can't do any good there. Move. 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 So they moved. They got a good roll. I did toy with the idea so you can see where they are. I'll try not to get the shadows of the light for you there. They've gone around the back of this this set of units. Took you in a little bit more there, mister. They are pretty well hidden from either side. I did toy with the idea of putting them on top of these crates and they could lay down some fire in subsequent turns, but they will do better surviving for longer, I think. The lieutenant is not going to throw away the neophytes. Their positions have been overrun. The Adeptus Astartes, the Codex Astartes dictates that they withdraw, preserve their fighting strength in order to come back and hit their enemies anew. So they have pulled back. Yeah, lessons have been learned. Lessons definitely been learned. They'd have been far safer over there. But no cover. No cover. One of the reasons for not putting them up there, no cover. And there's a flamer in that unit and other gun. Those guns could have reached over to them. They're far better off there. Which means at the end of battle round 1, the Fulminators have 5 points. The Nightlords have 5 points for first blood, killing those scouts. They have an additional 3 points for first blood because they killed more units than their opponents did. They also got 4 points for attrition because they... Oh, hang on, have I read that right? I don't think I've read that right. 1 minute. No, I've totally read that right. They killed more enemy units than friendly units this turn. So another 4 points for that. So the end of battle round 1, the Nightlords are winning 12 points to 0. They are storming into the lead on account of their secondary objectives. So let's go straight into Nightlords turn 2 and end of command phase. Acquire another command point and get 5 points for being on that objective. Now let's see where they're going to move to. How on earth can the Fulminators recover from this with an insertion of 1 squad of Vanguard Marines? The Nightlords are dominating this battlefield. They have absolute board supremacy. This unit over here, 10th Claw, it is 10th Claw. 10th Claw have advanced more cautiously, knowing that there are scouts around and knowing that there are jets overhead, but securing the objective nonetheless. 2nd Claw have stayed still, securing that objective. Fourth Claw and Keth have advanced onto this objective. They now control 3 of the 4 objectives this turn. So, end of Nightlords turn 2, Fulminators turn 2, and the Vanguard Marines are going to arrive. I'm going to do a lot of head scratching now and work out how on earth I can try and pull this back. So that was a lot of thinking. And the Astartes have come up with a plan. Now, the obvious thing to do is to jump in and protect the neophytes, pull them out of danger. However, if the heretic wants that objective, he can't have the neophytes. They're still there as a threat, and they're going to stay there as a threat to mess with his head and see what he does. Okay, he's got that objective. Can't do anything about that now. They can't take it off him. By far the biggest cluster of threats exist over here, in the form of this group of heavy weapons, those Tracer Marines, and this Warlord, who is also a witch. And he is their objective. They also have an objective to... it's got a special name. I'm trying to read it upside down. Can I read it upside down? Looking at the camera, leaning over. Survey! I can. This is how you make bat reps. So their objective is to survey, which means they need someone on that objective and that objective. And while those scouts are still there, it's still possible. It's a touch forlorn, however. So we want to shoot these off this objective. They are the biggest threat on the board. Now, I did want to put the Reavers down into them to charge in, but they're in cover, so it's going to be 9. It's going to be 11-inch charge required, which just is not going to happen. The other objective that we Fulminators have is board control. We want to control all 4 quarters of this table. Now, I did toy with the idea of bringing the captain down over here, so we would have Reavers, suppressors, captain, scouts for an extra 1 point, which just did not feel worth it. And then I remembered that Lieutenant... 1 minute. Seamless. But Brother Lieutenant Kalmar, I'm still not reading it, is the master of the Vanguard, and he gives all Phobos units +1 to charge. So over there, they only need an 8-inch charge to get in. They're also going to reroll to hit with ones to hit with their bolt pistols because both are fusillade. So in theory, shoot these guys up a bit, charge onto them and kill them. Then the suppressors are, I was going to say safe. I mean, they're not really safe. If the plan doesn't work and these heavy weapons don't die, they're going to get utterly annihilated. I did want to bring them down on top of this plasma regulator, but that would have been by the centre of the board and would not have counted for the table quarters, the board control. So that would have cost me 2 points to do that. And 2 points might be the difference between success and loss at the end of this game. It is, yeah, it could. So that was all my thinking. Then I desperately went to the Space Marine Codex and had a look through and tried to think of what I could possibly do, any stratagems I could use in order to make this happen. And then I realised, with his final breath, the noble sergeant of that scout unit ordered an orbital bombardment on his position. The command got passed up to Lieutenant to validate. Open fire. So, orbital bombardment. You pick a point in the battlefield, denoted by the red dice. Then you roll a d6 to see how big a range the bombardment has. I did think about putting it here to try and catch these guys as well, but then I would have needed a range of 4 inches to kill the ones I really wanted to get. It's worth saying that for a lance strike from an orbital battle barge, this is not terribly effective, which is why it doesn't get used very much. And the fact that it costs 3 command points is woo. Yeah. So, what's the range? 5 inches. Yeah, would have got them. Never mind. So we roll a d6 for each unit that is caught in the area. On 4 or more, they take d3 mortal wounds. Unfortunately, you take 1 off the roll if the unit is a character. So I don't expect big things from this rules-wise. From a narrative point of view, yeah! Go, Scout Sergeant, who's now dead! Okay, the Havocs. Are these filthy heretics going to be immolated with lance fire on a 4+? Oh, sad times. Sad times. That's what we really wanted. What about the filthy heretic warlord on a 5+? No, not on a 2. That has got to be the most imprecise lance strike. Maybe it was a low energy beam and it dispersed earlier in the what's it? Yeah, atmosphere. I'll think of some words. Pretend I said it. Oh, could have been so glorious. Never mind. Never mind. They're certainly disconcerted. They've probably been thrown in all directions. There's probably been debris blown up into the atmosphere. They don't know what's going on. They're yeah, they were missed by a lance strike that landed there. Never mind. Okay, so shooting phase. It's down to you, lads. 5 dudes, 6 shots. You can do it. So accelerator cannons. They are heavy 2, 6 shots. They moved. So they're only going to hit on 4s. Come on, Emperor. The Emperor protects. Okay. Perfectly average. Strength 7, toughness 5. Wounding on 3s. -2 save. 3 save normally in the cover. -2, 4 ups. 2 saves and 4 up. 1 dies. Okay. It's going to be the guy with the autocannon. That is, well, it's very good news for the Nightlords. Yes, let's stay positive. Good news for the Nightlords. Right, let's come over here. We have 7 of these pistols into these Nightlords. That means I am 1 dice short. Looks around for a dice. Yep. Professional. Yep. Well, you know what you're getting if you're watching one of my bat reps. Okay. Hitting on 3s. Rerolling 1s for Bolt of Fusillade. No 1s. 6 hits. Wounding on 4s. Rerolling 1s. 5 wounds. I don't know if these have an AP modifier. So, oh, hang on. We're in battle round 2, which makes this the tactical doctrine. I totally forgotten about doctrines because we've kind of had weird turns. So that makes no difference. Right. So I roll the dice and then I might have to check the stats if I roll any 3s. I haven't rolled any 3s. So those are saves and that's 1 dead. So he dies. Right. Try and work out what to do with the commander. I don't know if he can pick a different target or not. I'll have a look. Okay, so the commander doesn't have any special targeting rules. He just has a bolt gun that does 2 damage and ignores cover. Not particularly relevant. He fired it. He failed to wound. That's what he did. He failed to wound. So these guys declared a charge against this unit. They're all charging as 1. So that means I'm going to roll 2 dice and either the entire unit with the commander succeed or they fail. If they succeed, they'll move together. If they fail, they'll both stay still. Second claw fired Overwatch did not achieve anything. So because of the Master of the Vanguard rule, we get +1 to the roll. So we need a total of 8 or more to get in. Whew, have faith in the throne, brothers. Oh, it's not their day. So no leadership tests to take either, as these 2 units only lost 1. So at the end of battle round 2, the Fulminators failed to slay the Warlord. They did not survey the 2 objectives, but they did, however, get a mighty 2 points for having a unit in this quarter, a unit in that quarter, and a unit over here. Oh yeah, 2 points. Yeah, on the scoreboard, on the scoreboard. Oh, Nightlords, turn 3. So at the end of the command phase, in Nightlords turn 2, the score is currently 32-2. Keth's trap has been sprung perfectly. He has the control over this battlefield that he wants. All he needs to do now is mop up the Imperial dogs. So he has unleashed 10th Claw and is sending them to hunt down these neophytes and murder them. Over here, a slight quandary. Enemies on either side. Doesn't want to leave his back exposed. His line would be stretched too thin to have 4 Marines going against 7 Primaris Marines and a Lieutenant. So, what Keth is electing to do is move his force this way. Now the Reavers have actually dropped in, they're relatively slow. They're on feet. They aren't jump hacks, they're grav shoots they've got. These guys, much more mobile. So he's pulled forward slightly, and Second Claw have fallen back. Not quite far enough. There is still a potential charge there. There's still an opportunity for them to get closer. But Keth is very adept at moving his men around this battle zone. So he is going to warp time them. Casting value of 6. And fails. That makes it interesting. Yet again, something he's not able to re-roll. So there is a glimmer of hope in there for the Reavers. We will come back to that after we have finished the who's or what's its. So, to prescience the thing, or to smite, or smiting will actually strip them apart myself, and it will be terribly satisfying. And yeah, I'm a chaos. I want to do what I want to do. Smite. Yes, for D3 wounds. Uno. One of them has some organs rupture and the skin peel off his face. I'm not reaching for a dice, honestly. Okay, so now we're on to the shooting phase, and the Havocs are going to open up. Okay, this might be quite brief. They were definitely relying on that land strike to do more damage. So these are 2 saves from plasma guns, so they're at -3. No cover or anything, so they're saving on 6s. No, 1 dies. Another 1's wounded. These are heavy bolters. -1, save on 4s. Another 1 falls. So the Sarge is riddled with chain cannon fire. These are all saving on 4+. Can he do it? He cannot. And the suppressors are wiped out. So a crack missile fired from Second Claw failed to hit this unit of Reavers. So the last action of the turn is to come over here, as this unit charges the scouts. Looks like it needs a 2 or a 3 or something. It's a 7. Right, let's see what this looks like. It's going to be interesting because it's a very narrow corridor. I don't think many models are going to be able to fight. Let's see what it looks like. So I envisage there being rows and rows of crates in the distance over here, and more buildings and machinery and so on. This is a tight press that they're hidden in. So only 3 models are able to fight. There are only 2. Yeah, that's right. There's only 1 model that's within half an inch of an enemy model, and only 2 models that were within half an inch of him. So, having rolled the hits and the wounds, a fair few deaths to the False Emperors, but then not many of them converted into wounds. We have 2 wounds for a power maul with -1, so these will save on 5s. 2 dead scouts. Those camo cloaks counting for nothing when being punched in the face. And 2 saves of 4+, just regular saves. 1 pass, 1 fail, 3 dead. But these neophytes have been well trained. They have been fighting the forces of chaos for 5, 10, 15, 20 years throughout the course of their training. And they know how to fight, and they know how to hate, and these are their preferred enemy. As they surge forward, using shock assault, as they have been taught with the hypno-indoctrination, not the right word, but you know what I mean. Hypnagogic indoctrination, yeah, boom, nailed it. They're also screaming death to the tracers for a command point. Any rolls to hit of a 6, counters 2 hits, or roll an extra 1. I just read it and I can't remember it. Let's see if I get any 6s on the bouncy bit of the table. Boing, 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 boing. Now I have to read the book. But re-rolling the 1 because of thingy. Yep, great. Got to read the book now. Well, hang on. Let's just see. If it was an extra roll, would it hit? No, it wouldn't. I have to read the book. And I'm going to stretch across the table and my belly's too fat. And it was a modified 6. Make 1 additional attack. Okay, so it's basically death to the False Emperor, but, not. So that one missed. So 5 successful hits. Wounding on 4s. 3 wounds. This is ancient power armor, constantly being repaired. Will it hold up on 3s? They take 1 down. They tear 1 down. They kill that dude. Well done, scouts. Well done, scouts. Right. It is time for the thingy. I'm saying thingy a lot. Morale. That's it. Yeah, that's the one. A little bit there. So these Nightlords lost 1, so they can't fail. The scouts lost 3. They're also next to a unit with terror tactics, so they have no sergeant, so their leadership is 7. -1 for terror tactics, it's 6. They lost 3, so 1 to 3 they're safe. Anything higher than that, they fail. They fail, but they shall know no fear. Maybe a little bit of fear. So 1 runs away. And the last guy has to take a battle attrition test, which will normally fail on a 1, but because the unit's below half strength, it fails on a 1 or a 2. He holds. Brave little guy. He's angry. I say little guy. He's probably 6'6" and built like a brick privy. If I met him in a pub, I would probably run away screaming. But, in this scale, little guy. Right, where are we at? So, end of Nightlords turn 2. Possibly we'll get attrition because we took out the suppressors. Haven't taken those out yet. We'll have to see what happens next round as we go on to Fulminators turn 3. So in turn 3, it is looking bleak for Lieutenant Brother Kalmar. His neophytes, the runes of his neophytes are all winking out on his heads-up display. His suppressors have been driven off. And all that remains, he cannot control the battlefield. He cannot survey the surroundings. He can't accurately assess the enemy positions and drive them back. The only real thing that remains is to kill heretics and kill this witch. So, we've moved forward with our extra inch of move that we've got from the Warlord trait, which is super handy. Now, the dilemma is to shoot or not to shoot. I mean, of course we're going to shoot. But it's a 5-inch charge at the moment because of the extra 1-inch charge. Super handy. And because of that nearest guy. Turn 3, we're of course now in the Assault Doctrine. No point in staying in Tactical. So those pistols are AP -2. So we might actually cut through a few of those. And it will be a longer charge the further back we go. But you know what? What else are we going to do with them? Let's kill some heretics. 3 wounds come through. -2 AP, saving on 5s. What's that? 1 save, 2 dead. And let's kill him off as well, because the aspiring champion, there's no way he is going to take 1 for the team. And if he's there, the missile launcher may as well be. Okay, now what is the lieutenant going to shoot at? So the lieutenant takes a shot at one of the Havocs and misses. Okay, so charge phase. It is 7 and a bit inches away, so it will be a 7-inch charge with +1 for the Warlord trait. Need a 6 for the Emperor. Oh, they're in. Oh, they are in. So one single charge move. The Reavers, they've all moved together, but they're now activating separately. The Reavers are going to activate first. Okay, so I'm totally filming this. Hitting on 3s with a reroll. That's a lot. 24 hits. Love that. Wounding on 4s. Eee. I remember the rerolling once to wound because the lieutenant just before I picked the dice up. 14 saves. And -1 because combat doctrine assault thing is in effect. So, yeah, you're screwed. Yeah, dead, 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 all over. Dead. Dead 11 times. Bit of a waste on the 2 guys, really. Okay, well, they are most definitely going to consult. Are they going to do that? Are they going to do that? What, tie the sorcerer up? Yeah, they are totally going to do that. Pile in! So the remaining scout over here has successfully caused 1 wound on the on 10th Corps, which they pass. I'll roll some dice for them. Something incredible has just happened. It has, folks. I wasn't going to do it on camera. I started not doing it on camera because I thought there is absolutely no point. I will just end up moving the Marines back over there in a minute and showing you afterwards. But 2 wounds from the Power Maul, saved on 6s. 3 wounds from the other Marines. No, sorry, these are the wound rolls. All fail to wound. He lives. He lives. He lives. Yeah, go for it. And that concludes Battle Round 3. So, a quick check of the scores. So, Fulminators, given it's their turn. 2 table quarters. Is it 2 table quarters? Yeah, they've got to be wholly within. I can't imagine I am lucky enough to have the lieutenant wholly within. Right here. Wholly within this. Oh, do you know, if I hadn't piled in with him, I'd have had 3 quarters. Well. So nothing there, Fulminators. Nothing for surveying, because little Fredo's fighting his last over there, and we don't control this objective yet. It's very much controlled by the bad guys. And we haven't killed him yet. He gets to fight back. I need to do that. I'll do that in just a second. Lost my train of thought. Attrition. 1 unit of Nightlords was killed and 1 unit of Fulminators, so no attrition for the Nightlords. The Nightlords' other one was First Strike, which we've already had, and Psychic Interrogation, which hasn't happened yet. Okay, so at the end of Battle Round 3, notwithstanding the results of that combat, which I'll come back to within a second, it is 32 to the Nightlords, 2 to the Fulminators as we go into Battle Round 4. So, Battle Round 4, Nightlords score another 5 points for controlling that objective at the start of the round. So, they're in a bit of a sticky situation here, and I actually don't fancy their chances. I think these guys are going to exercise spite and kill them to death before the end of the game, but we shall see. And that's because Keth either stays in combat with these nutters, and he will probably be overwhelmed because he is just a Marine with 4 wounds and 3... Oh yeah, he fought back. He hit twice. Snake eyes on the wound. He didn't wound him. So he's kind of scrambling to get out of the fight. Now, he could stay there. He could smite in he could maybe prescience these guys and get them to jump in. And they'd have a few attacks, but there'd still be quite a few left. And he would probably still be brought down. And like most Nightlords, he's a coward. So what he's going to do is these guys are going to pull back and make space. And Keth is going to fall back. Now that of course means he can't use any psychic powers this turn. So there's no smiting, no psychic interrogation. Those guys over there are staying put, and they're going to shoot their pistols into that last scout. And so the Havocs are going to open up onto the Reavers. And I just need to check if they get the armor save bonus for being in the same terrain as them. I don't think they do, but I'm going to have to go and look it up. I can't find where it says it in the rules anywhere, so I'm going to let the dice decide. On a 1 to 3... they'll get cover from being shot out. On a 4 or more, they won't. 4 or more, they won't get the cover. Okay, these guys are going to unload. Oh, whilst I was looking, I fired those dice over there, by the way, for shooting the pistols. That scout is a hero. He's still going. He's been shot in the face with a plasma pistol. Still going. Right, Havocs, shooting. Okay, so we're halfway through the shooting, and some things somewhat unexpectedly have happened. The sergeant overcharged his plasma gun, killed 2 of them. The heavy bolter managed to kill 1, and now we're going to attack with the chain cannon. Hitting on 3s. Goodness me, 1 miss out of 16 dice. Wounding on 3. Can't even pick them all up. Wounding on 3s. That balances it out a bit. They don't wound. Yeah, they are angry. They have the... I could have been using transhuman physiology. I could have just used it with the thing. No, I don't have enough command points. I used them all on a orbital strike, which was well worth it. So, saving on 4s. That's a good bunch of saves. 1 wound. 1 guy's wounded. So, my apologies, I forgot to mention something that happened at the end of the movement phase. The Nightlords played Vox Scream on the Lieutenant, which is a 2-point stratagem. You stratagem at the end of your movement phase, select an enemy unit within 18 inches of a Nightlords unit. Until the start of your next movement phase, enemy units cannot be affected by any of the selected unit's aura abilities. So that has polluted his Vox with garbage. And even though it's a new experimental Vox developed by the not a heretic Belisarius Crawl, it is flooded with static and scrap code, and he cannot communicate with his troops, so they cannot reroll to wound, and they cannot get the extra charge distance from him. So, with that being the case, that I think... Oh no, we have some combat. I was going to go straight to the morale. We do have some combat. And it's the scout to go first again, because it's the Nightlord's turn, so it must be the scout to go first. So the scout, 2 attacks. Rerolling, because he really knows how to kill heretics. 2 wounds. Wounding on 4s. 1 wound. Save on a 3+. Yes. Okay. Can he do it again? Can he do it again? The champion, 2 attacks. 1 hit with his maul. Wounding on a 3. No. He fails to wound again. 2 Marines, one of whom has a flamer, and the other one has a chainsword, so 3 attacks. Hitting on 3s. Death to the False Emperor. 4 hits. Wounding on 4s. Could his time be up? 2 saves of 4+. Will his carapace armour hold? Tragically not. This little hero, still the size of a small house, this little hero gets brought down, and this unit consolidates towards the nearest enemy, pulling them onto that objective. So these Nightlords, these Reavers, have a leadership test to take. Their leadership is normally 8 with the Sarge. However, he's within 6 inches of 2 Nightlord units with the Terror Tactics rule, so his leadership goes down to 6. He's lost 3 guys. 3 plus d6 for 1. They're good. They're angry. And it's their turn next. They want this warlord dead. They want to kill the heretics. Because, you know, that's what they do. So they are rushing the warlord, who is still somehow managing to conceal himself behind this unit, even though Anyway, so all the fire is going into that unit. They are all too aware that these pistols appear to have got really quite nasty recently. So they are spending a command point on in Midnight Clad to make themselves harder to hit. So 4 heavy bolt pistols hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Rerolling 1s. They all hit. Strength 4, toughness 5, wounding on 5s. 1 wounds. -2. We said the cover didn't count if they were both in there. We rolled the dice decided. And he fails. So, I don't know, I think the nearest guy should buy the farm. I think that's the right one to take off. Then the commander with his Oculus-y gun doodah shooting hits twice. Same target. Hit twice. Didn't wound. Would re-roll the 1 to wound, but no, he is going to re-roll the 1 to wound because it's his Vox that's been turned off. He can use his own skill. And it wounds. And it passes the save. Everyone's happy. Except this guy. This guy's dead. Right then. Okay, charge phase. No guts, no glory. Both units. Both units. Overwatch in a second. -2 for the cover. Anything but Snake Eyes. I said that once at a narrative event. What did I roll? 4 -2 is 2. We're still in. We're all right. We're all right. Although the lieutenant might not be in. No, the lieutenant won't be in. Lieutenant won't be activated, bubble. Okay, it's all on the Reavers. Okay, the overcharged plasma gun didn't hit anything, but didn't kill himself either, so no score draw there. 1 wound from the heavy bolter, 3 from the Reaper chain cannon. So 4 saves at -1. 4 saves of 4+. 1 goes down, well, 1 fails, so 1 wound on that guy. And now we can move him in. Okay, so 17 attacks against the enemy sorcerer. 4 each, 2 as a base, 1 for the sword, 1 for shock assault, and an extra 1 for the sarge. Rerolling to hit because, you know, gotta hate those heretics, but no rerolls to wound because his Vox is jammed. So, hitting on 3s. With a reroll of these 1s and 2s. Should do this bit off camera, but I'm not. I apologise. Feel sorry for the people who have to work with me. They get that all day long, except I'm not rolling dice. God, in work the other day, I referred to something that had happened something the team did last week as something that happened last turn. Jesus. I mean, golly. What am I rolling? Oh God, I've distracted myself. I'm rolling to wound. I must be rolling to wound. It's 4 or more to wound. Yes, that's right. 4 or more to wound. Okay. Ew. 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 Oh. Look at that. Those 2 command points have stopped 4 rerolls. That's... Oh, I forgot to do all the command points. I was going to do the thing with the thing, and I completely forgot to do the thing. Okay. So 1 wound. Which -2 he does, -1 he does not save. So that's a wound on the sorcerer. Right, it is now their turn to activate and fight. So the Havocs have activated and piled in. And I've just realised I've engaged the lieutenant. So he will get to fight in a moment because he charged this turn. Anyway, so 4 successful wounds were caused on the Reavers. with shock assaults for some extra attacks and death to the false emperor and all that goodness. Saves a 3+. 2 fails. So this one that was on a wound dies, and this other one takes a wound. So now, given we're alternating, I think we'll go back to the lieutenant now. It's obviously, it's a little bit of a strange situation because it's based on the house rule, and it's probably one of the reasons they don't... I imagine they playtested something like this and found there were lots of complicated situations. But because this is all narrative and we're treating it as such, that's why it's fine, because we're not in a competitive environment. That's why I choose to do it. Okay, right, I need to look at the lieutenant stats now. Okay, so the lieutenant has 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, obviously with the reroll for preferred enemy. Every roll of a 6 scores an additional hit because of his paired blades. I have ummed and ahed about what stratagems to use, because I could go for Death of the Traitors, which would give me another roll to hit on a 6. I could go for, I think it was Gene-Wrought Might, which would give me an auto wound on a 6. But I think Honour the Chapter is a better one to do for the 3 command points that I've got to get to fight again. Whether that's these guys or those guys, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, hit on 2s, rerolling 1s. Okay, I re-rolled the 1. All right, this is the tricky. Were any of those 6s? Hang on, they looked like that. No, they didn't look like that. I'm going to have to go back and watch this again. Okay, so none of those were a 6. Right. Wounding on 5s. 1. At -1. So a save of a 3+ for a Havoc. Saves. Okay, so now we're back to the Heretic. And Keth is going to attack. 2 hits, 2 wounds at -1. Saving on 4s for the Reavers. Both save. At which point, extra 3 command points, Reavers fight again, Honour the Chapter, let's kill that sorcerer. You know, this time. Right, everything hit. This is where it fell down last time, the wound roll, so I thought I'd share it with you. Okay, 4s to wound. I think last time I rolled something like 12, less than a 4. It was a lot of dice. Okay, 4s to wound. That looks a bit better. Okay, so these are... Ooh, how many is that? That is 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 at -1, so he's saving on 4s with 4 wounds to get through. He will be able to reroll an armor save because of his warlord trait. But, okay, let's see. 4 or more. Yeah, well, 2 fails. We'll reroll 1. Still failed. He loses 2 wounds. He is down to 2 wounds. Okay, so the morale phase. So the Reavers' leadership has gone down to 6. They lost 1 guy. So anything but a 6. A 2 is not a 6. These guys lost 1 guy, and they're within an inch of some Reavers. So their leadership's gone down to 7. That means they can't fail. Okay, so that is the end of battle round 4. So was attrition scored? Yes, attrition was scored because the scout unit was killed and no Nightlords unit were killed in return. So that's 4 more points for the Nightlords. So the command phase, Nightlords turn 5. 5 points gained for that objective. This one is exactly evenly held. It's 4 models each. So no one controls that one. At the start of the turn, Keth is going to drink the Misery of the Meek and restore 5 wounds. He's fine. So leafing through all my various stratagems, trying to work out what's actually worth doing. So I could, being Nightlords, fall back and then hit and run and come back in, but I don't want to cede that objective. And I wouldn't be able to do my psychic powers if I do that, and we'd both get shock assault. So I don't see a huge amount of point of doing that. So the plan is pretty much to stay put and psychic them to death. And maybe I just need to have a sneaky look in the book for something. Oh, I'm such a fool. I haven't been using Veterans of the Long War. Right, we're going to use Veterans of the Long War in a moment. Oh, what a fool. Right, I'm going to go back and check the book and see if I'm doing anything else stupid. So, Keth knows he's in a bit of a tight spot. Not the tightest of spots, but still an uncomfortably tight spot. So, he's going to take some risks. Now, he would be perfectly happy summoning in a unit of the Neverborn to come on in and murderize, but all the other Nightlords would kill him. So he can't do that. What he can do, though, is something else, which we'll come on to in a little while. Okay, first things first. Psychic Phase, Smite. For 9, doing D3 damage. For 3, kills that Reaver for 1 remaining damage. Kills that Reaver. 1 remaining damage. Okay. He is then going to Prescience himself, giving +1 to hit in combat. Casts on an 8, so he is +1 to hit for everything, actually. Now, we are in the shooting phase, and for a command point, he's going to load a demon shell into his pistol. He's about the only Nightlord who'll mess about with this kind of stuff. If the shot hits, which will be +1 because he's prescienced, D3 mortal wounds to that unit. If it misses, the demon gets angry and attacks him instead. So, can't be rerolled for any reason, this. On a 2+, demon shell hits the Reaver. Demon shell hits the Reaver for D3 damage. 2 damage, kills the Reaver. Okay, this is very much insult added to injury at this point. So that Reaver unit has been wiped out. Still in the shooting phase. No pistols over here, I don't believe. So we are now on to the charge phase. He didn't fall back. He can charge. You can also spend a command point on Veterans of the Long War. So he's hitting on 2s. All hits. He is wounding on 2s because the Force Staff is higher strength than his toughness, and +1 because of veterans. 3 wounds. Minus some. I think it's -1. I'll check if it's relevant. Oh, he saves it all. What a boss. Now, can he kill him in return? 4 attacks. No, he was charged. 5 attacks. No, 4 base, 1 extra. He should have had an extra attack last turn. 6 attacks. Hang on, let me check that. One moment. Just hum some lift music to yourself. Yeah, it was 5. Panic over. Okay, do I have any command points left? No, not yet, so I can't spend anything. Okay, hitting on 2s because of who I am, which is great. Re-rolling because I hate heretics. I really hate heretics. My Vox has cleared up now, so I am re-rolling once to wound. He's only toughness 4. So actually, it's not impossible. It's now impossible. No, it's not. Re-rolling this 1. It's now impossible. 3 wounds. -1 because we're in the punchy phase. Saving on 4-ups. 3 fails. It's a new battle round, so we can re-roll 1. Still fails. He has 1 wound remaining. Was that hubris? Has he gone too far? Very possibly. These Havocs are going to have a go, though. Grand total of 4 attacks. 2 hits, wounding on 4s, 2 wounds, straight saves, both save. That is the end of Nightlords turn 5. So we now come to Fulminators turn 5. They have 1 model left on the board. So we'll fire a pistol in this heretic's face in the shooting phase, which hits and wounds. -2, because it's a heavy bolt. Hang on, let me check what he's got. More lift music. Just an ordinary bolt pistol, so it's only -1. Because of the assault doctrine. So saving on a 4+, he's already used his reroll. And he fails. And Keth falls. Now, do these guys tear down the Fulminator in response? 2 hits. Well, they can't kill him. 1 wound. That wasn't drop dice. It really was. I'm doing the saves. I'm doing that thing again where I'm looking at what I'm doing with my hand and not looking at the camera. So the photography on this must be terrible. This is why I'm not meant to do live dice rolls. Okay, so at the end of battle round 5, for attrition, 1 unit of Phobos Marines, 1 sorcerer, no attrition. Slay the Warlord for 4 mighty points. Watch me chalk this up. So that was the Nightlords on 46 because of their extra the objective, but the Fulminators managed to salvage a shred of dignity by slaying the heretic warlord. And that is how this part of chapter 2 concludes. I'm sure he will now jump away with some kind of jump pack extracty harness thing into a landing jump ship that he's just called, that'll spray some fire against these guys, and they'll run for cover, and he'll jump and get in, and some of the Reavers who aren't completely dead will crawl in, and some guys will get out and drag the bodies in and go, what about the neophytes? Oh, they were evaporated in a land strike. Oh god, well, there's some suppressors over here, quick, get them. What about the other neophytes? Ixnay on the ear fight, nay. Oh, okay. And that is the end of this show. Oh god, what are my thoughts? We didn't use that bit of the table much. Well, I obviously totally screwed the Fulminators over by putting the scouts in on these 2 objectives. I thought that'd be dead smart. Yeah, they're holding those objectives to start the game. No, Paul, no. That was not clever. Because they then just got instantly murdered. Because obviously, yeah, the quarter was here and the objective was right there, and they just murdered them. And they were totally on the back foot. There was nothing they could do against those Marines there. They'd have been far better off being, if I'd put them almost anywhere, I could have put them up there with some shooting fire coming down, could have put them up there, not on the objectives though, just not in there. But the problem is these have got a lot of short range fire. I've had to have put them way back. This was a tough combination, but to be honest, I think it's the scenario that did for them. If this had been the last game, if this had been part 1 where it was all undergrowth and dense terrain and lots of cover, those scouts would have been absolutely in their element, and you wouldn't have been able to dig them out with a pitchfork. As it was on this table, on this really sparse terrain set, yeah, they were not in a good place. Maybe I should have kept them near the back and brought the suppressors in near the back. But then, that's castling, and I don't like castling. This is very much a drop-in and respond unit army. But then again, the suppressors, very long range. Why did I put them so danger close? Well, I needed to get lines of fire on those Havocs. I wouldn't have been able to shoot them from anywhere else, really. I also hope the Lance Strike could do something. If that Land Striker got D3 mortal wounds off, it would have seriously damaged the damage output from those guys. Could have gone a very different way there. But having fed the Nightlord those scouts in the first turn, and the Nightlord just being sat on all the objectives, because in his turn one, because in Fulminator's turn one, I had no units to move up to respond with, nothing to counteract with. Yeah. This scenario, I think, very much favours being in your deployment zone and getting the objective opposite you in your first turn, because you are only 9 inches away from it. It's very, very doable in the first turn, especially if you've got a rhino or a truck or something light that you can just drive up to it. Yeah, but your opponent can respond. Interesting. Bit of a stark contrast to part one. For those of you who haven't seen it, look away now or close your ears now. With that, with the repulsor tank just driving around the table, wiping out units every turn until someone had the proverbials to walk up to it and punch it to death. Yeah. I'm quite pleased with the table, though. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm whittering now. I'm not in vlog mode. This is bat rep mode. Yes, so we have one more. It's 1-1 at this point. Although this one, quite an emphatic victory for the Nightlords. Their trap well and truly sprung. I wonder what will happen in part 3, where the two venerable dreadnoughts will meet each other in the field of combat. ... again. Right, I'm going to stop whittering now. Thanks for watching, folks. See you in the next one. Bye for now.